You think you can walk in here with this garbage? Who do you think you are, mine? Get out of my line now. I'm not playing. Move!
Teller slams the mic. Guests only step aside. He rips 2 checks for the camera. First National, downtown 10, 3 a.m. Phones rise. Security drifts in. Caption, Black CEO refused withdrawal. She doesn't argue. She aligns her pen with the receipt. Fake checks again? He yells, waving a hold stamp. She lifts her phone 1 number. Ops branch, 214live audit. The intercom pops. The lobby quiets. Her voice is level. Log everything. Why? On-screen artifacts, receipt ID, teller badge, timestamp ticking. We're still at the counter. The system is about to wake up. First National Branch, downtown lobby. Timestamp on the wall camera reads 1003 a.m. The morning is routine until a teller leans toward the glass and taps the intercom. Guests only, step aside. His voice is loud enough to carry to the back of the line. 2 checks sit on the counter inside the window. He lifts them like evidence, and the first phones come up. A woman in a beige suit stands at the window. She is the Black CEO from our title, and she is very still. No raised voice, no rebuttal. She studies the receipt. She places her metal pen beside it until the edges line up. The gesture is simple. It reads as control. The teller wants a scene. He flashes a rubber stamp that reads hold and shakes his head. Fake checks again. He turns 1 check toward the crowd. He wants the phones to catch his angle. Security drifts from the side wall, hand on the radio mic, reading the room. A man in line whispers something about fraud, and the whisper spreads, even though none of them know the account or the limits or the system notes. They only know volume. The intercom crackles again while the teller repeats the policy line. He asks for more ID in a tone that suggests doubt rather than procedure. He slides the withdrawal slip back through the slot and leaves it hanging halfway, as if it is not worth the trip. The pen on the counter does not move. The CEO does not move. She breathes, then lifts her phone and dials a single contact. Ops, branch 214, live audit. The words are level and clear. The call is not for theater, it is for the system. On a screen behind the counter, a login box sits open. The teller badge ID is visible in the corner. The camera above the lane shows a red light. A quiet customer at the far end raises his phone higher to catch the teller name plate and the clock. Security reaches the window and lowers his voice. Mom, I need you to step back. The phrase is familiar and usually ends things. Not today. The CEO sets the phone on speaker and keeps it still beside the receipt. The line picks up with a simple go-ahead. The lobby hears it. The tone is neutral and official, like a checklist being read. She speaks with the cadence of a note for the record. Deposit last week cleared. Today, withdrawal. Teller escalated to fraud by speech, not by system. Requesting branch-level audit and replay of intercom audio. The words are not a threat. They are instructions. The teller opens his mouth, but the ops voice interrupts. Confirm account ending in 4 digits. Confirm board access tag, confirm teller station ID, and timestamp. He freezes a little at that. The line of customers goes quiet. The phones keep recording, but the arms holding them drop an inch, the way people behave when something real begins. The CEO adds 4 more words. Log everything you see. It lands like a gavel without noise. The security guard takes his hand off the radio. He is listening now. A junior banker, 2 stations over, looks at his monitor and then at the teller. He knows what the board tag means. He does not say it out loud yet, but his eyes move to the ops phone as if it can see through the glass. The teller tries one last time to control the frame. He says the checks look wrong. He says he is following policy. The ops voice asks which policy section and the exact clause. The question floats over the counter and loops back to the nameplate on his vest. He does not have the section. He has a habit. The intercom records it. Under the glass, the receipt remains aligned with the pen. The camera clock ticks from 1003 to 1004 a.m. The room feels smaller, not because of volume, but because of precision. A system is waking up, and when systems wake up, they do not shout. They timestamp, they verify, they preserve. The ops line stays open, Background keys click, the way a back office sounds when screens wake up. A case number appears in the audio. Compliance ticket created. Branch 214. Camera 2 and camera 3 requested. Teller station 3 requested. The junior banker 2 stations away looks at his monitor again. He speaks low, careful to aim his words into the phone. I can see a board access tag on this profile. The ops voice asks him to read the last 4 digits of the account to confirm. He reads them. The call notes update in real time. The teller shifts his weight. He points at a tabletop sign about fraud prevention and check holds. The sign mentions Regulation CC and availability schedules. He taps the sign as if it were a shield. The ops voice asks a different question. Was there a deposit last week? What kind? What day was the hold released? The junior banker answers, Friday. Corporate reimbursement checks from a vendor. Funds cleared at 9:01 a.m. today. Available balance visible. He adds the transaction ID. The ops line repeats it back. Security adjusts his stance. He is no longer pushing the customer back. He is now watching the teller. The lobby senses the turn. Phones keep recording, but the tone has shifted from spectacle to documentation. The CEO stands the same way she did at minute 1. Pen and receipt aligned. Phone on speaker. No extra words. Her silence reads as a green light for the system to keep moving. The teller tries a new angle. He asks for a second utility bill. He asks for a second ID, even though the account has a biometric flag on file. The ops voice asks him to cite the clause for the request. He says it is policy. Ops asks for the section and the page. There is a pause that lasts exactly long enough for the camera to pick up the time change to 10:05 a.m. On a back monitor, the KYC profile opens. It shows enhanced due diligence completed. It shows board relationship. It shows an internal note that the client may conduct surprise service audits. The junior banker does not read that part aloud. He does not have to. The ops line already knows. The teller sees the monitor reflection in the glass and looks away. A woman near the front whispers that the checks might be fake. The CEO speaks for the first time since placing the call. Last week, deposit cleared. Today is a withdrawal from the same account. If you believe a fraud risk exists, identify the risk code and log it. Her tone is even. It is not a dare. It is a request for the field to be filled. Ops asks for the teller's badge number and his station login. He recites them, voice smaller now. Ops asks security for the intercom recording to be preserved. The guard nods and calls it in using the radio. Preserve lane audio from 1001 to present. The phrase preserve makes the lobby quieter than any shout. The branch manager appears at the threshold of his office. He has the look of a person who walked into a story at the midpoint. He asks, what is happening? The teller says, suspected fraud. He gestures to the torn checks like props. Ops cuts through it. Manager, confirm you hear this. We are running a live audit. Pause non-urgent traffic at lane 3. The manager nods. He directs a colleague to open a new lane and move the line. The crowd parts without argument now that the situation carries a record number. The junior banker clears his throat. I have the account pulled on my side with the board tag. If needed, I can share screen to ops. The manager allows it. He brings the junior banker into his office where the camera can see the screen without exposing numbers to the lobby. Ops instructs him to highlight 3 fields: available balance, board access, prior service incidents, all present. The teller glances at the CEO and finds nothing to read. No anger, no triumph, only process. She says 1 sentence for the tape. We will let the system finish, then we will correct it. Security exhales in a slow way people do when they realize the path is set. The clock hits 10:06 a.m. The lobby now feels like a conference room. Everyone understands that what they say next will live on a report. That knowledge changes posture more than any raised voice ever could. The ops line asks the manager to route audio to the conference speaker so all parties hear the same feed. The manager agrees. The room gains a new kind of quiet, the kind offices make when a call is recorded. Ops assigns a case ID and repeats it twice. Case 82417, branch 214. Preserve all channels. The guard repeats the instruction over radio and adds the clock window from 1001 to current. The red light on the ceiling camera stays steady. The teller sets the torn checks down like he is done with them. Ops asks him to stop. Those fragments are records. Chain of custody starts now. The junior banker brings a tamper-evident bag from a drawer. He writes the case ID in time. He seals the pieces in sight of the camera. The gesture is simple, but it flips ownership. The teller no longer controls the props. The system does. Ops asks the teller to state his reason code for refusal. He says fraud risk. Ops asks which risk code and which field he used. He does not answer right away. The manager watches his screen through the glass and shakes his head. Ops prompts him. Select the dropdown. Read the code you clicked. He admits he has not selected a code yet. He says he intended to. Ops notes that intent is not a log and asks him to select or to withdraw the claim. He clicks. The code is not a fraud code. It is a service hold code used for incomplete documents. Ops asks which document is incomplete. He says second ID. Ops asks him to show the clause that permits a second ID for a biometric flagged account with a cleared deposit from the same drawer last week. Silence fills the lane. The CEO remains still. She says, one line for the record. I have one passport and one state ID on file with biometric, both verified in prior visits. If your policy has changed, cite and timestamp. The manager turns to the junior banker, pull the internal policy wiki, search for biometric plus second ID. The junior banker scrolls and reads, no second ID when biometric match is in profile and last update is within 90 days. He reads the last update timestamp. It was updated 41 days ago during a routine KYC review. Ops asks him to screenshot the policy section and attach to the case. The lobby senses the turn again. This is not argument, this is instruction. Phones stay up, but hands are steadier. The guard shifts his stance from block to escort just in case anyone needs a lane cleared for privacy. He asks two customers to step to lane 4. They move without comment. They know the difference between a scene and a record. Ops requests the teller's last 3 transactions involving the account. A back office clerk joins the call and reads them. Deposit last week from a corporate vendor, teller ID matches. A small cash withdrawal 2 days later, teller ID matches. No notes of issues, no alerts. Ops asks the teller if he recalls those. He nods. The junior banker looks down. He is trying not to make it worse for his colleague, but the data is what it is. Ops addresses the manager. We will run a service standards check on lane 3. Pause his discretionary approvals. Do not remove him from the floor yet. Keep him available for questions. The instruction saves face and preserves access for answers. The teller hears it as punishment. It is not, it is process. A customer in line whispers that the woman is getting special treatment. The CEO answers without turning. Standards are not special, they are the minimum. If they are applied to me today, they will protect you tomorrow. The sentence lands flat and true. It belongs in a manual more than in a speech. At 10:07 a.m., the ops voice asks a new set of questions. Confirm the account is marked with board relationship. Confirm the branch file notes on surprise audits. Confirm the service pledge signed by staff. The manager confirms the pledge exists and is current. He does not speak about the surprise audits yet. Ops can read it themselves, and everyone understands that. The junior banker takes a breath. He has been quiet too long. He says, I can see a board tag on her profile. It is visible on my screen. He does not embellish. He only states what is on system. The manager instructs him to share screen to Ops via secure link. He does. Ops acknowledges receipt. They ask him to highlight the field and read the exact label. He reads it. Ops instructs the teller to reopen the transaction using the correct workflow and to stop using the intercom as a pressure tool. The phrase pressure tool echoes in the lobby because it names what people felt. The teller swallows and repositions his keyboard. He stops performing for phones. He starts clicking through real steps. The CEO does not push. She waits for the system to complete its checks. Her phone is still on speaker. The clock shifts to 10:08 a.m. The branch is no longer a stage. It is a compliance room with a line. Everyone is learning how fast a normal morning can turn into documentation when a standard is questioned and someone says, "Show me where it says that." The manager steps closer to the mic on his desk and routes the ops line to the branch speaker. The sound shifts from private to shared. Every syllable now lands on the marble floor and the glass. Ops asks the manager to verify he has authority over the lane. He confirms. Ops asks for a roll call. Teller present. Manager present. Security present. Junior banker present. Client present. Each answers yes. The formality is not theater. It is chain of custody for people. Ops speaks in a steady cadence. We will conduct a live service standard check on lane 3. Preserve all media. Freeze discretionary overrides for this station. Begin. The teller breathes in like a swimmer before a lap. He opens the workflow he should have used 20 minutes ago. Fields appear. Identity verified by biometric. Prior deposit cleared. Available balance sufficient. No alerts. He reads them aloud because Ops requests it. Reading out loud changes the power in the room. Facts leave the screen and become the record. Security keeps his posture neutral. His hand is off the radio. He watches the doorway and the crowd. The lobby is a mix of curiosity and a new kind of respect that comes when a process is transparent. The junior banker stands just inside the manager's office with his monitor turned so the ops camera can see, but the account numbers stay private. He highlights the board relationship tag when asked. He says the exact label, board access active. Last confirmed 41 days ago, Ops asks him to capture that field and attach to the case. The teller still wants distance. He repeats that he felt a risk. Ops asks him to map feeling to a field. He tries to cite an internal memo from last year. Ops asks for the date and title of the memo. He does not have it. The manager pulls up the wiki and types the first 3 words of what the teller remembers. Nothing matches. The room holds the pause and the clock rolls to 1009 a.m. Ops asks a simple question. Do you want proof on system? The words hang from the ceiling speaker and settle on the counter. The teller understands that the question is both a courtesy and a warning. He nods. He says yes. The manager says yes. Security says yes. The junior banker says yes. The client says proceed. Ops moves. A push notification hits the teller terminal. Owner board priority flashes in a corner where only staff can see. The teller's eyes track it. The manager sees the reflection and goes still. Ops asks the client to confirm her name as it appears on the account. She does. Ops asks the manager to confirm that the account is under the ownership group the branch reports to. He does. The junior banker reads the governance line that ties the branch to the ownership entity. He reads it carefully without adding a single word. The lobby does not clap. It exhales in a way people do when a truth lands. The client tilts her phone off speaker and sets it face down. She does not need the call to prove anything. The system is already doing that. She says one sentence for the record. I represent the ownership group. I am here for standards. The sentence is not loud. It does not need to be. It is a key that fits a lock and turns. Ops continues. Teller Station 3. Suspend discretionary approvals. Maintain login for questioning. Manager. Hold incentive payout review for the branch until service standards are recertified. Security. Preserve lane audio and video and transmit to compliance. Junior banker. Continue as truth keeper on record. The terms are not personal. They are structural. Term, suspend, preserve, continue. 4 verbs that tell everyone where they stand. The teller nods without argument now. He asks what to do with the torn checks. Ops tells him to attach the bag to the case and log his handling notes with time and initials. He does it. His hands are steady. The performance is gone. The process remains. He reads the withdrawal request again. He follows the steps he skipped. He reads the amount. He checks the drawer balance. He calls for a second count at the vault. The manager authorizes a dual control retrieval. The crowd repositions as staff open a new lane to move routine transactions along. The branch becomes 2 rooms in one. On the right, daily life resumes. On the left, a live standard unfolds. The CEO waits without commentary, no victory face, no smile. She watches the second count through the glass and keeps her pen aligned with the receipt. The clock hits 1010 a.m. Ops asks if any party wants to add to the record before they proceed to resolution. No one adds flavor. They add facts. The guard adds that the intercom clip from 1003 shows the phrase guests only. Ops thanks him and notes it for training. The manager meets the client's eyes for the first time this morning. He says the word apology without dressing it up. He adds that he will supervise the completion of this transaction and the follow-up. She nods once. We finish the transaction, then we fix the system. The line feels like a schedule more than a slogan. The vault door opens. The second count begins. The branch stands in a quiet that looks like respect. The vault clerk arrives with a second key. Dual control authorization is read aloud. Drawer balance confirmed. Vault balance confirmed. 2 sets of hands count the bills in stacks. The manager watches without blinking. The teller reads the requested amount and the denomination plan. He repeats the plan so the camera hears it. 10s and 20s limited to what the customer requested last visit. Large bills used for the remainder. The junior banker records the count window in the case notes. Time is 10:11 a.m. Ops remains on speaker. They ask the teller to narrate each step while completing the withdrawal. He reads the account suffix. He reads the verification status. He confirms that no internal alerts exist. He confirms that the last service incident for the account shows resolved with customer satisfaction. He says the words customer satisfaction, and the lobby notices how the tone shifts when service returns to the script that should have been used from the start. The manager takes the receipt printer output and compares it to the on-screen amount. He signs as witness. He asks the junior banker to countersign as second witness for the double count. The junior banker steps forward, hands steady, and signs. He keeps his eyes on the paper. He is careful with the ink. He does not want anything sloppy in a file that now carries a case number. Security walks the 2 counters to the teller lane. He does not rush. He treats the cash like evidence and like service. The stacks land on the counter in view of the glass camera. The teller straightens the edges and invokes a final check. He names the count for the tape and invites the client to watch the second pass. The CEO nods. She waits for both counts to finish and for the receipt to print again with the timestamp. Ops asks to confirm the 3 actions set in motion. The manager repeats them cleanly. Suspend discretionary approvals for the teller and route his transactions for review. Hold branch incentive pool pending service standards recertification. Preserve and submit all media and logs to compliance as part of the case. He adds that he will add a local training note about intercom usage and tone. Ops says that is appropriate. They ask the manager to schedule recertification within 30 days and to send dates by end of week. He agrees. The teller finishes the second count and slides the stacks to the glass window shelf. He does not look up yet. He reads the receipt language out loud. He reads the count, the account suffix, the amount, the teller station ID, and the timestamp. He places the receipt in the slot for the client to take. The CEO aligns the receipt with her pen again, the gesture that began this turn. She signs the customer line acknowledging the count. The sound of pen on paper is the loudest thing in the branch for a second. The manager offers a direct apology for the refusal and for the language that followed. He does not try to explain intent. He names the impact and the correction. He says the branch will run a coaching session today. He says he will write to the client before close of business with the actions completed, including a copy of the preserved policy sections that apply. He asks if there is anything else the client wants added to the case. She answers with process. Add the intercom clip that starts with guests only. Add the still from the camera that shows the hold stamp in his hand. Add the radio call time when preserve was said. The manager writes each item in the notes. He repeats them back and assigns the tasks to team members. Security takes the audio. The junior banker captures the still. The teller marks the radio log. Ops asks if any party needs to correct the record as spoken on the call. No one speaks. The teller glances at the torn check bag on the desk. He says he wants to clarify that he used the wrong code earlier and that he has corrected it. He adds the exact code he used and the reason it was incorrect. Ops thanks him for the correction and notes it as part of the training file. The branch manager nods once. Owning errors is a skill. Learning it on a public line is hard. He lets the moment sit. The CEO picks up the counted cash and places it in a flat pouch. She does not rush. She checks the zipper, then places the pouch in her bag. She slides the receipt into a side pocket. She places the pen back in its clip. She looks to the junior banker and speaks at a volume only meant for him and the tape. You read what you saw on system and nothing else. That is how standards stay real. He nods once. The look in his eyes says the same thing. Ops asks whether they should remain on the line for the formal close or if the manager can finish. The manager says he can finish and will file the close summary within the hour. Ops reminds the room that the case number governs all mentions of the event from now on and that any conversation should reference it. They say thank you and drop. The ceiling speaker clicks and the air returns to normal texture. The record stays. The teller asks permission to continue serving at another lane under supervision. The manager agrees and assigns the junior banker as his shadow for the afternoon. He instructs him to review the policy wiki before each transaction that seems ambiguous and to read the clause out loud if challenged. The junior banker accepts. This is not punishment. It is a path back through competence and proof. The CEO turns toward the exit but pauses. She speaks to the manager in the tone she has used all morning. We will finish the transaction, then we will fix the system. You will send me the recert dates. He confirms. She thanks the security guard for preserving the audio and the junior banker for stating what was on screen. She does not raise her voice. The lobby hears it anyway. The branch returns to the rhythm of a weekday morning. The clock shows 10:12 a.m. The standards are awake. The lobby thins without losing attention. People drift back to their errands, but a few still film from the edges. The manager escorts the CEO to a side desk away from the counter. Not a back room, not behind a door, visible. He opens his laptop and routes the branch email to a shared screen so the actions are on record. He types the subject line with the case ID first, then the branch number, then the words Service Standards Incident. He reads each line aloud as he writes, like a checklist that happens to be an email. Ops rejoins silently via secure chat. They drop 3 bullet items into the thread and mark them timestamped. Terminate discretionary access for teller ID, ending 37, pending recert. Freeze incentive pool for branch 214 pending completion of standards training. Log full media set to case ID with retention per policy. The manager copies the lines into his message and adds owners for each task. He assigns himself to the freeze. He assigns compliance to the log. He assigns HR to the termination of access with a note that this is not a firing but a control step. He says that part out loud. The teller can hear it from lane 4. It matters. Security approaches with a small drive in a sealed envelope. Intercom audio, lane 3, 1001 to 1012 a.m. He reads the label twice. The junior banker walks up with a still image, the teller's hand holding the hold stamp midair. He has embedded it in the case file with the exact second from camera 3 at the top of the PNG. The manager attaches both items to the email and states the attachments for the record. He adds a task to transcribe the intercom phrases for training and to include tone notes, because tone is where policy and practice drift. The CEO stays seated, hands folded, posture unchanged. She asks one question in the same flat cadence. When does the recert begin? The manager answers by scrolling his calendar in view of the camera. He selects the next 2 Fridays for sessions. He blocks a 3rd day for makeups. He invites ops, compliance, and HR. He invites the junior banker as a co-facilitator. The junior banker's face changes a fraction. He is listening like someone hearing a new job title form in real time. The manager says one sentence that turns it into policy. Elena Jamal will act as truth keeper for this branch during Q4. The teller returns from the vault shadow shift and waits at a respectful distance. He is assigned to serve with the junior banker at his shoulder. He is quiet. He is also present, which is the point of a system meant to correct rather than to punish in public. The manager prints the recert invite and tapes it to the inside of the staff room door with the case ID in bold. He reads the posting time into the mic. Ops suggests a short huddle to capture lessons learned while memory is fresh. The manager agrees and asks the CEO if she will remain 5 minutes. She nods once. He positions the group where customers can still see them. Not a secret meeting, a branch tuning itself in daylight. He calls on each role. Security notes that preserve said early changes posture. Junior banker notes that reading the exact field name changed the temperature of the room. Teller notes that pressure through intercom can sound like policy but is not policy. The manager writes each item into a lessons box tied to the case. The CEO adds one instruction. Add a line to the training. If you think you know the policy, read it out loud anyway. She adds a second line. If you feel a risk, map it to a field. The manager types both. Ops replies with a simple received. The words will appear next week in a module other branches will use without ever knowing the lobby that wrote them. An email from Legal blinks on the shared screen. Short. Confirm branch, follow documentation steps. Confirm no cash transport risk created. Confirm that incident was not escalated to removal or police. The manager answers each item with timestamps. He includes the moment security removed his hand from the radio, because context matters in training and in law. Legal replies with good, no further action, preserve per retention. The CEO stands. She does not do a victory lap. She does not ask for a meeting in some future boardroom. She keeps it local. She asks the manager to send a close summary to staff before end of day and to post a copy by the time clock, so standards do not live only in emails. He agrees. She asks the junior banker if he will accept the temporary title until HR formalizes it. He nods. She says 2 words that set the tone, thank you. She turns to leave, then stops at the counter where it began. The new teller at lane 3 greets her with the standard line, the one everyone forgets when tension rises. Welcome in. How can I help? She smiles small, not for the phones, but for the file that will say resolved. She answers so the mic catches it. You just did. At 1:01:05 a.m., the branch looks like any other weekday. The difference is buried in a case ID and a calendar invite. That is how standards move. Not with slogans on a wall, but with a log that lives long after the crowd has scrolled on. The branch manager drafts the close summary while the CEO is still in the building. He keeps the subject line the same as the case ID, so nothing gets lost. He writes in plain sentences what happened, what the team did, what changes now. He includes the timeline with minute marks. He adds the lesson about mapping feelings to fields. He adds the line about reading policy out loud even when you think you know it. He sends it to staff and pins a printed copy by the time clock. The paper is not a poster. It is a receipt for the day. Ops pushes a short alert to regional leaders. Case closed in branch 214. Live audit conducted. Standards enforced on system. Artifacts preserved. Recert dates scheduled. The alert has no adjectives. It has links. One opens the intercom transcript. Another opens the screen capture of board access active. Another opens the lesson box the team wrote in the lobby. Regional clicks through. They see a branch doing its work in daylight. They copy the module into their own training queue. The junior banker sits with HR on a quick video call from a side desk. They confirm the acting title and the stipend that goes with it. They put a calendar hold for a formal promotion review next quarter. He is careful not to smile at the camera. He nods, thanks them, and asks a procedural question. Will I have access to the training authoring tool? Yes. Please co-author the intercom module and the mapping feelings to fields checklist. He writes down the request like an assignment from school. The teller takes a short break at the back counter. He does not disappear. He fills out the correction note about the wrong code and the intercom tone. He signs it. He asks to read the policy sections he missed. The manager prints them and sits beside him for 10 minutes. They do not talk about intent. They compare lines. They sign the training plan. The plan is not an apology tour. It is a map back to competence. The CEO receives a brief note from legal confirming that the incident is logged and retained per policy. She replies with 2 sentences, "Thank you. Send me the recert calendar when finalized." She turns to security and returns the small courtesy that matters. You shifted posture when preserve was called. That protects everyone. He nods and says he will train his team to call preserve early. Simple, repeated, useful. Before she leaves, the manager asks if the branch may send a short message to customers who were present using the numbers on file from the queuing system, acknowledging the delay and confirming that standards were enforced. She agrees, with 1 line attached. Keep it short, name the steps, no spin. The manager drafts a message. Thank you for your patience today. We paused lane 3 to run a live standards check. The transaction completed. Staff will recertify service policy this month. If you have questions, reply to this number. He schedules it for the afternoon. Ops schedules a follow-up audit in 30 days. Mystery shoppers will test the same scenario at opening and near close. The branch knows this and does not dread it. They want the clean run on camera. The junior banker starts sketching a 2-page quick guide for the teller line. Page 1 is the intercom script that avoids pressure wording. Page 2 is the map feelings to fields chart with the common risk codes and the evidence each requires. He keeps the font big enough to read at a glance. The CEO stops at the entrance and looks back at the lobby once. Not a grand gesture. A check. The room is settled into weekday pace. People are talking about lunch. A child taps the glass with a finger until a parent pulls the hand back. The case still exists. The standards will still run when the crowd forgets. She leaves, not to file a press release, but to read the inbox where other branches send their logs. In the afternoon, the manager holds a 10-minute floor meeting. He reads 3 items. We do not perform policy through intercom tone. We read policy out loud when asked. We map risk to fields before we act. He ends with a sentence that is not motivational, but operational. If you are unsure, you call ops and say, live audit. It buys you time and it buys you accuracy. The teller returns to lane 4 and runs 2 clean transactions with the junior banker at his shoulder. He feels every word leave his mouth and land on the counter. The words are smaller now. They fit the fields. He thanks the customers who waited earlier by saying only what is true. Thank you for your patience. We were aligning to policy. They nod and move on. People understand more than you think when you give them facts. At 4:30 p.m., the branch sends the promised close summary to staff, again with the attachments. It includes the calendar invite for recert. It includes the case ID. It includes the line that the CEO said twice today. We finished the transaction, then we fixed the system. It reads less like a slogan now and more like a sequence anyone can follow. The day ends like most days do. Doors lock. Lights dim. The record remains. Regional reads the alert during their noon check-in and forwards it to 2 other branches with a simple subject line that starts with the case ID. They add a one-liner. Run this drill this week. No commentary, no adjectives, just the sequence. One branch manager replies with a question about intercom scripting. Ops points them to the new draft written by the junior banker an hour after the event. It's 2 pages. Copy ready. Page 1 avoids pressure phrases and replaces them with verifiable steps. Page 2 maps common risk feelings to actual fields, with codes, examples, and the evidence each requires. Compliance opens the media set and scrubs the audio for the phrase guests only. They tag the exact second and add a training note about gatekeeping language. Legal requests a short memo on tone drift in customer-facing systems. They don't want a lecture. They want before and after sentences. The manager supplies 3. He lists the intercom line used, the line that should have been used, and the policy clause that backs the correction. He adds a timestamp and the staff IDs who reviewed it. The memo is dull by design, the way seatbelts are dull. It saves lives anyway. Accounting receives the freeze notice for branch 214's incentive pool. They log it and set a reminder for release pending recert completion. No one debates it. A freeze is not a punishment, it is a control. The branch knows the difference now. HR gets the temporary title paperwork for the junior banker and routes the stipend approval. They tag it as Truth Keeper assignment through the end of the quarter. The term quietly becomes a role with responsibilities. He will be pulled into any call where facts need weight. IT checks the access logs and confirms the teller's discretionary overrides are suspended. They push a soft banner to his workstation reminding him that all transactions will route for review until recert signs off. It's not a scarlet letter, it's a break. He prints the banner and tapes it to his screen as a reminder to pace himself. He is not angry. He is learning to like the feeling of being held by a system when judgment wobbles. By 1:00 p.m., the email to customers who were present has gone out from the queuing system. It thanks them for patience and names the steps taken. Some reply with a thumbs up emoji. One replies with a short question about how the bank protects people with accents or quiet voices at a loud counter. The manager forwards it to training, and the junior banker volunteers to add a section on acoustic bias, how to slow down and route to a private lane when clarity, not volume, is the goal. Ops says yes. It becomes page 3. The CEO reads the branch close summary from her car, parked on a side street with the AC low. She replies with 2 directives. Add a 30-day follow-up audit, mystery shop near closing time, publish the intercom module network-wide by Friday. Ops accepts. She adds a 3rd line, Promote the Truth Keeper when HR clears it. She does not copy anyone who will turn it into a ceremony. Promotions connected to standards land best when they look like work, not reward theater. In the afternoon, regional QA dials into a short call with branch managers. They play the intercom clip from 1003 a.m. with the phrase "guests only bleeped for privacy," then play the corrected script the junior banker wrote. Managers take notes. One asks about handling repeat fraud at the same counter without slipping into performance. Ops gives a protocol: call preserve first, cite the risk code out loud, move the conversation off the intercom, invite a live audit if the feeling outpaces the fields. The guidance fits on a note card. That is on purpose. A vendor who supplies check stock to corporate reads a sanitized log and offers to add a watermark training set for branches to practice spotting obvious fakes without dramatics. Compliance says yes only if the practice set doesn't bleed into customer-facing language. They write it down as practice deck, not prop. The difference keeps lobbies from becoming stages. By late afternoon, the branch manager drafts the research calendar invite with concrete outcomes. Staff will demonstrate the intercom script in pairs. Staff will practice mapping 5 feelings to 5 fields with actual codes and artifacts. Staff will role-play a live audit call with a remote ops rep reading section and page numbers out loud. He attaches the case ID to the invite and the 3 new pages written this morning. He adds a note that coffee will be served and that the session will end on time. People learn when the calendar respects them. The teller finishes his shift with the junior banker at his side and asks a question he should have asked a week ago. Where do I find the policy wiki fastest when the line is long? The junior banker shows him the pinned widget and the keyword trick. Search by verb, not by noun. Verify, preserve, cite, override. The search returns the right sections within seconds. The teller tries it and nods. He is not defensive. He is busy improving the only thing that counts at a counter accuracy under time. Before the branch closes, the manager sends a short report to regional with 3 metrics: time from preserve to case ID, time from live audit start to resolution, number of artifacts attached at close. He includes the timestamps and the link to the training module. Regional replies with an unadorned good and a request to present the module at next week's huddle. The manager forwards the request to the junior banker. He writes back with 1 word: ready. At 5:02 p.m., the CEO receives the updated calendar with research dates and the network-wide module publish plan. She reads it once and puts her phone away. The day looks ordinary again from the sidewalk, but systems are different now in small, measurable ways. That is the point. Quiet power doesn't trend. It sets a standard and makes sure the timestamp proves it. By evening, the branch carries the calm of a place that finished its work. The manager sends the last confirmations and walks the floor 1 more time, checking that the printed summary by the time clock is straight and legible. He powers down the conference speaker, leaves the case ID on a sticky note by his monitor, and locks his office. The junior banker stays 10 minutes longer to polish the intercom module. He trims adjectives, adds 2 clear examples, and ends with a line he heard the CEO say. Standards are not special. They are the minimum. He hits publish to the internal library and tags it for network-wide use. At headquarters, Ops gathers a quiet debrief in a glass room. No stage. A shared screen shows 3 timelines from the day. Preserve called at 1004. Case ID assigned within a minute. Live audit started before 1006. Resolution and second count completed by 1012. They do not celebrate speed for its own sake. They mark where speed supported accuracy. Legal notes that early preserve lowered the chance of a dispute later. Compliance notes that reading the policy section out loud kept feeling from turning into rule. IT notes that the banner at the teller station worked as a brake without shaming the user. The CEO dials in from a car parked in a quiet lot. She asks 2 questions in sequence. Did the customer leave with full count and clean receipt? Did the system adjust so it will not rely on personality next time? Ops answers yes to the first and details the steps for the second. Research dates set. Incentive pool, frozen pending completion. Truth keeper assigned. Module published. Mystery shop scheduled. She listens without interrupting. When the list ends, she adds 1 instruction. Publish a one-paragraph note to staff network-wide by morning. Name the steps, no spin. The note is drafted in 7 sentences. A branch paused a transaction to run a live standards check. The transaction completed with a double count and a clean record. Staff will complete service recert this month. Discretionary overrides for the teller are suspended pending training. Incentive pool is frozen pending completion. Media and logs are preserved. A new module is live on intercom tone and mapping feelings to fields. It reads like a checklist. It is sent to 10,000 inboxes and posted on the intranet front page. Overnight, regional QA plugs the case into a dashboard that will track 3 numbers going forward. Time to preserve, time to audit start, number of artifacts attached at close. The dashboard will not rank branches like a leaderboard. It will highlight where support is needed and where training lands well. The junior banker's name sits beside the module as author. He is not the face of a campaign. He is a line on a page that people will click because they need the words. Morning brings small ripples. A branch across town runs the drill at 9:15 a.m. and finishes in 8 minutes. They write a tiny note to thank a teller for citing a risk code out loud before acting. Another region adapts the map feelings to fields page with local examples. The phrase live audit shows up in 3 call logs before lunch, not as a threat, but as a pause button for accuracy. The pattern is visible and calm. The CEO reviews a draft of the public-facing statement the bank intends to post on its site. She removes the sentences that sound like branding and leaves the ones that sound like process. She keeps a single paragraph. We paused the transaction to confirm policy. We completed the transaction. We are conducting service recertification at the branch and have preserved all media and logs. Standards protect dignity. She approves it. Communications schedules it without comment. Back at branch 214, the manager runs a 5-minute stand-up before the doors open. He reads the 3 lines he promised yesterday. We do not perform policy through tone. We read policy out loud when asked. We map risk to fields before we act. He points to the printed summary and the calendar invite. He asks the junior banker to demonstrate the intercom script with him just once. They do it in a normal voice, the way most days should sound. Staff nod. They disperse to their stations. The teller walks to lane 4 and powers on his terminal. The banner about routed approvals appears just like yesterday. He does not sigh. He reads the intercom script taped near the mic, then slides it a little closer so it will be easy to see when the line gets long. He runs his first transaction clean, citing the clause when a customer asks why a second ID is not needed with a biometric match. The customer thanks him for explaining. He says, "You are welcome," and the words land without friction. By noon, the mystery shop date is confirmed. By 2, the junior banker receives a single-line email from HR about his acting role, effective immediately. He drinks water and returns to his desk. There is no confetti, there is a case ID and a calendar. He will take both over applause. The system has already decided what matters. The morning after the network note goes out, the CEO walks into headquarters with a small stack of papers and a quiet agenda. She meets ops, compliance, legal, HR, and regional in a windowed room that faces the city. No banners. A whiteboard with 3 lines from the dashboard. Time to preserve. Time to audit start. Artifacts at close. She sets 1 sheet on the table. It is the case summary from branch 214 with the timeline in minutes. She sets a second sheet beside it. It is the public-facing paragraph with the 4 sentences approved yesterday. She says one thing: we will standardize this. Ops proposes a network-wide live audit protocol that any frontline agent can invoke. 2 steps fit on a card. Call preserve. Cite the clause. Compliance adds retention windows for intercom audio and camera captures so local teams are not guessing. Legal adds 1 sentence about consent notices posted at the teller line. HR adds language about truth keeper assignments during recert windows. Regional lists branches that have audits scheduled this month. The board access tag gets a separate line in the training calendar. It is not special treatment. It is a reality check for ownership visibility. By 9:40 a.m., the mystery shop vendor emails a final script for branch 214. It will test intercom tone, the map feelings to fields chart, and the speed of calling preserve. The manager receives the script and does not panic. He circles 4:45 p.m., Near close is when habits wobble. He prints a small sign for the staff room. Live audit can be called by anyone. He repeats it in the morning huddle so it becomes muscle memory. At noon, another branch in a different district faces a smaller version of yesterday. A customer presents a check that looks odd to a junior teller. The teller breathes, taps the intercom once, then stops. He remembers the card. He calls preserve and reads the risk code into the mic. Manager arrives, ops dials in, the clause is cited. The transaction is paused for 5 minutes, verified, then completed. The customer thanks them for checking and leaves with a clean receipt. The manager sends a 2-line note to regional. Drill worked in the wild. Back at headquarters, the CEO meets briefly with communications. She asks for a 1-page standard section on the website that is not a campaign. It will say how to request an audit, where to send a follow-up, and what artifacts the bank preserves. It will list the customer rights and the staff steps in the same font. It will not feature faces. It will feature timestamps. Communication says yes and drafts it by end of day. At 3:10 p.m., HR sends the junior banker at branch 214 a formal acting title letter. Truthkeeper, service standards, Q4. It lists responsibilities and a stipend, plus access to the training authoring tool. He signs and files it. He walks the floor once and checks that the intercom script is taped near each mic. He moves one so it sits on eye level. The teller watches and nods. The adjustment is small and matters. Near 4:30 p.m., the mystery shop begins. A shopper presents a check with mismatched fonts. The teller at lane 3 hesitates for a beat, then follows the card. Preserve called at 431. He reads the risk code exactly. The manager routes to ops without raising his voice. The intercom script stays neutral. The customer is moved to a side desk for privacy without pressure. The audit runs clean. At 438, the check is confirmed authentic due to a specialty watermark. The transaction completes. The shopper logs the time and writes one note: tone-matched policy. The CEO receives the field report on her phone at 4:55 p.m. She reads it once and forwards it to the same glass room that met in the morning. She adds 4 words: keep the calendar tight. She leaves the building without fanfare. Standards do not need her face to work. They need her insistence that logs and training stay in sync. That evening, Regional compiles a short report for the board. No spin. 3 sections. What changed system-wide since the incident? What was measured today? What is next on the calendar? They include the branch 214 mystery shop note, the other branch's quick drill, and the website draft for customer audit rights. The board liaison replies with a sentence: proceed and publish the rights page this week. 2 days later, an industry group invites the bank to share the intercom module at a service summit. Communications suggests a panel. The CEO declines. She sends the junior banker and the manager instead with a 10-minute deck. They will show a timeline, play a short clip, and hand out a 1-page checklist. They will not tell stories. They will show fields. In the end, the case is not a headline. It is a calendar item that became a network habit. At branch 214, the teller finishes another shift with the banner still on his station. He is steady. He calls preserve early when a situation feels off. He cites clauses he can see with his own eyes. His words land not because he performs them, but because they match the screen. The manager locks the doors at 5:01 p.m. and glances at the printed summary by the clock. It is wrinkled at the corners from being read. That is the look of a standard that is alive. Week 1 after the incident, the branch runs its first research session. Staff pair up at the teller line before opening, reading the intercom script in low voices and swapping roles. The manager times each exercise and notes where phrasing slips into tone. He stops them when it does and points to the clause on the page. Read the words, not the mood. They repeat until the words fit their mouths like routine. The junior banker leads the mapping feelings to fields drill. He calls out a feeling, unease. Staff respond with a field and a code. They say the evidence needed and the action permitted. The drill plays like a language lesson because it is one. By midweek, HR finalizes the Truth Keeper title into the system. The stipend posts. Access to the training authoring tool expands. The The junior banker now sees modules the network uses and can edit them. He adds a tiny line to the top of the intercom piece. If you think you know the policy, read it out loud anyway. He tags it with the case ID that sparked the work. He does not add his name larger. The system knows. Accounting holds the branch incentive pool while research is underway. The freeze forces managers to score the training honestly. No one wants slow, but no one wants performative speed either. The manager tells the team the only metric that counts is fidelity to the clause. They rehearse the live audit call until it sounds boring, which is the sound of a process that will hold on a bad day. Legal publishes the customer audit rights page the CEO requested. It lists in one paragraph what a customer can ask for and what the bank will preserve. It links to the way to request a follow-up. It uses the same font as every other page. There is no hero image. There is a sentence that says, "Standards protect dignity." Customers write in to say the page is clear. Some say nothing at all. Clarity does not always get applause. It gets fewer problems. Ops pushes a small update to teller terminals. A quick key opens the policy wiki to the correct section when an agent types verify, preserve, or cite. The change shaves seconds when the lobby is full. The teller from lane 3 uses it twice in a day and feels his chest loosen. The tool makes right behavior easier. He stops thinking of the banner as a mark and starts thinking of it as a guardrail. He asks the junior banker to review 3 of his transactions at close, and they do it, shoulder to shoulder, no edge in the air. Regional runs a spot check of 5 branches on intercom tone. They do not send mystery shoppers. They listen to recorded clips and score for pressure phrases. Branch 214 scores clean. The 2 that do not receive the module, and a call from the junior banker who now coaches peers with the same flat delivery he used at the counter. He never says we. He says the clause says and reads it. People copy the cadence. They copy the correct words. The CEO reviews a weekly roll-up that shows the 3 dashboard lines moving. Time to preserve drops by a minute network-wide. Time to audit start tightens without rushing. Artifacts at close climb. She sends a 3-sentence note to the board with the chart attached. The note is what she always wants in the record. What changed, why it matters, what is next. She adds a 4th line this time. Promote the truth keeper when the quarter ends if performance holds. The board liaison replies with, proceed. Friday arrives with the 2nd research session. Staff practice moving a heated exchange off the intercom to a side desk without losing pace. Security rehearses saying preserve early and neutral. The manager reads a short apology script designed for when staff tone slips and is caught. It does not explain intent. It names the impact and the correction. People practice saying it without flinch. The teller from lane 3 reads it once, then again, smoother. The room relaxes a little. Practice is working. At noon, Communications posts a small internal story on the intranet under Training Wins. It is 3 paragraphs, not a feature. It names the module, the new quick keys, the audit rights page, and the research calendar. It quotes no one. It links to the case ID and the checklist PDF. The junior banker keeps walking past his screen until a colleague points it out. He nods, then goes back to building a 1-page troubleshooting guide for borrowers with hearing aids, with a note about lowering ambient music and offering a side desk. Acoustic bias was a customer's question. Now it is a page. By end of week, accounting receives confirmation that branch 214 completed research with full attendance and passing scores. They lift the freeze and release the pool following policy. The manager forwards the release notice to the staff with a sentence that matches the week. We moved the number because we moved the behavior. The teller thanks him and closes his shift without a wobble on the intercom. The CEO visits the branch unannounced the following Monday. No entourage. She steps to a side desk like any customer and asks a routine question about safe deposit access. The new teller greets her with the script that lived on paper last week and lives in muscle now. Welcome in. How can I help? The cadence is neutral, steady. The words match the clause. She does not reveal anything. She watches the system run on its own. She leaves after 10 minutes and emails 1 sentence to ops. The standard holds without us in the room. 30 days out, the follow-up audit lands on branch 214 like a weather report. Quiet, factual, inevitable. Ops runs the same drill at opening and near close. Preserve is called without drama when a scenario feels off. The intercom script holds. Staff move one conversation to a side desk within 10 seconds. The junior banker observes and notes where posture helped more than volume. The report reads complete, not perfect, which is the right word for living systems. Regional compiles network numbers for the month. Time to preserve is down across districts. Time to audit start is steady. Artifacts at close climb again. Legal notes, a drop in complaint, escalations tied to tone. Compliance notes, a rise in self-reported corrections, which is healthy. HR reports that 3 branches assigned truth keepers during recert windows and that the title is now coded in the system with a stipend and access to authoring tools. The dashboard becomes less of a scoreboard and more of a maintenance gauge. It tells people what to tune, not who to shame. The website page on customer audit rights goes live with a date stamp and a plain URL. It explains how to request a review, what the bank preserves, and how long records are kept. It uses the same font as the checking account page. It includes the sentence standards, protect dignity, and nothing more. A few customers bookmark it. Most never need it. The page exists so the ones who do are not left guessing. Vendors feel the ripple in their scopes. The check stock supplier delivers a practice deck labeled training set only and signs a clause that keeps it out of lobbies. The branch queue system adds a checkbox for preserve called so staff can mark it in the moment. IT ships a small intercom update that auto-attaches a 30-second clip to any case created within 2 minutes of a preserve event. The attachment shows up in the case file without anyone hunting for it. Small automations lower the cost of doing the right thing. The teller from lane 3 completes his recert and sends a short note to the manager. Thank you for the second set of eyes. He keeps the banner about routed approvals on his screen until HR lifts it as scheduled. He does not tear it down. He saves the printout in a folder with the policy sections he used most. He presents one clean example at the weekly huddle. It is a simple story of a pause, a clause, and a count. Colleagues ask 2 questions and move on. That is what success looks like in operations. Boring and reproducible? The junior banker trains 3 peers from other branches over video. He does not posture as an expert. He reads sections and demonstrates how to map a feeling to a field. When someone asks about edge cases, he asks for the clause. If they cannot find it, he teaches the search by verb trick and waits for the right page to appear. He ends each session with the same line. If you think you know the policy, read it out loud anyway. The sentence is catching on network-wide because it reduces arguments by putting the book on the table. The CEO reviews the month-end packet with ops, compliance, legal, HR, and regional. The packet holds 8 pages, no slogans. It documents what changed and what held. She signs off on making live audit cards permanent at every counter. She greenlights a quarterly review of intercom tone clips with anonymized examples and outcomes. She asks for one more addition. Post the 3 drill steps in staff areas in large print. Preserve, cite, move to a side desk. The point is not to sound clever. The point is to be reachable under stress. Communications sends a thank you note to customers who opted in after being present that first day. It names the steps the branch took, confirms that recert finished, and links to the audit rights page. It invites questions and routes replies to a monitored inbox, not a no reply. A handful of people respond with simple appreciation. One mentions that being moved off the intercom lowered their heart rate. The line becomes a training note in the acoustic-bias section and earns exactly the amount of attention it deserves. Accounting lifts the freeze on the branch incentive pool. The manager forwards the release with a sentence. We unlocked this because the calendar shows the work, not because the story got attention. Staff read it and return to their counters. The reward is normalcy aligned with policy. At the board's Service Quality Committee, the CEO presents the 3 metrics and the network snapshot. She does not mention branch 214 by name. She talks about habits that changed and tools that made those habits easy. She recommends keeping Truth Keeper roles rolling through the next 2 quarters and adding a small budget line for intercom maintenance, because equipment that carries policy should not squeal or crackle. The committee approves both items. Late in the month, a regional banker emails the junior banker a 1-sentence compliment. Your module saved us from arguing into a mistake. He forwards it to the manager and goes back to editing the troubleshooting page for customers with hearing aids. He adds a note about lowering ambient music and offering a side desk on request. He timestamps the update and tags it to the case that started all this, because lineage matters when standards evolve. On a Friday afternoon, the CEO walks into branch 214 without announcement. She stands at the edge of the lobby and listens for a minute. She hears neutral intercom tone, a clear offer to move to a side desk, and the small sound of a receipt printing. She nods once more to the record than to the room and steps back outside into the unremarkable air. The system is doing its job without a scene. That is the point. Quiet power leaves proof, not noise. A quarter later, the story exists mostly as a number and a habit. Branch 214 opens on a Monday like any other. The intercoms are tuned. The policy wiki opens fast. The live audit card sits beside every mic. Staff move in a choreography that does not look like choreography because it is routine. Preserve lands early when a situation feels off. The clause is read out loud. Conversations that need space move to a side desk without a sigh. No one performs for a lobby, they perform for the log. The junior banker is no longer acting. HR made the title permanent. Truthkeeper appears under his name in the directory with a small budget line for authoring time. He walks the floor and asks one question when something wobbles. Which field does that belong to? People answer faster now because the search by verb trick lives on a post-it at each station. Verify. Preserve. Cite. Override. A teller taps verify and the correct section appears. The branch saves seconds without bending standards. That is operational grace, the kind that never trends. The teller from lane 3 teaches a short segment during recert. He reads the apology script the team practiced, not because he needs it that day, but because the room needs to hear a clean version from someone who learned the hard way. He names impact, he names correction, he points to the clause. He does not explain intent. The group nods. The lesson lands because it is small, human, and tied to a page number. Ops publishes a network snapshot with 3 lines the board now expects to see every month. Time to preserve. Time to audit. Start. Artifacts at close. The lines are stable and a little better than last month. Legal notes. Fewer escalations where tone drift used to live. Compliance notes. More self-checks that fix themselves before they grew teeth. Communications keeps the customer audit rights page current and unglamorous. It is a door. People can find it. That is enough. Vendors adjust without being dramatic. The check stock supplier ships a fresh training deck each quarter, stamped training set only in large letters. The queue system includes the preserve checkbox in the interface by default. IT makes the intercom capture attachment automatic whenever a case opens within 2 minutes of a preserve call. No one has to remember. Machines remember for them so people can think. The CEO visits unannounced twice that quarter, once at opening, once 10 minutes before close. She stands as any customer would and listens. The lobby sounds like a healthy branch should, neutral tone, clear steps, a quiet offer to move a complicated matter to a side desk. She does not introduce herself. She does not need to. She emails ops afterward with the sentence she uses when a system holds on its own. The standard lives without us in the room. Regional rolls the Truthkeeper program to every district through year end. HR adds it to the role library so managers can assign the duty during recert windows. It comes with authoring access, a small stipend, and a line in performance reviews that asks the only question that matters for a standard. Did you help others read the clause out loud? The answer is visible in recordings and timelines now. That is the quiet accountability the series set out to design. The branch manager keeps a copy of the original case summary in a folder by his desk, not to relive it, but to remember the hinge. One morning, one intercom line, one wrong code, one right call. A room that shifted from spectacle to record in under 2 minutes. A verdict that sounded like verbs. Terminate discretionary access. Freeze the incentive pool until recert. Log everything. And after that, the work that gives verdicts purpose. Promote the one who told the truth on system. Schedule the audits. Publish the module. Tape the script by the mic. Repeat until it is boring. On a Friday, a customer who was there that first day returns to open a small business account. She is greeted with the same neutral script that calms the room. She notices the side desk offer and smiles. She says the line people say when they can feel a standard without anyone selling it to them. This place feels easy. The manager thanks her, not because they chased a vibe, but because they chased a process that produces one. Near close, the junior banker checks the training library and sees a new comment from a branch 3 states away. Your module stopped me from arguing into a mistake. He replies with the sentence that became a reflex. If you think you know the policy, read it out loud anyway. He timestamps the exchange and closes his laptop. The doors lock at 5:01 p.m. The manager straightens the printed 3-step card by the time clock. Preserve, cite, move to a side desk. He turns off the lobby music. Security notes that the intercom clips uploaded without error. The teller from lane 3 files his last transaction and leaves the banner printout in his drawer, not as a scar, but as a souvenir of a guardrail that worked. Outside, the city moves without noticing any of this. That is right. Quiet power leaves proof, not noise. The bank did not win a moment. It built a habit. A customer did not get a performance. She got a standard. The camera clocks kept time. The logs held. The sentence that ran through the whole chain stays true. We finish the transaction. Then we fix the system. And when a standard holds, dignity doesn't need a speech. It shows up in the count, the receipt, and the way a room decides to lower its voice.